This is gonna be fun. I'm excited. Oh, shoot. As long as I think my phone might fall and break, but other than that, it'll be fun. Hey, Pete. A rabbit. I did have a rabbit. I had a rabbit named Bill. He was so soft that if you were touching him very lightly, it was like you weren't touching anything at all. And I used to tell people that. I think I was also slightly allergic to rabbits because whenever I held him, I got itchy under here. But yeah. I used to tell people... Oh, I have some reverb in here. Hey, guys. Hey, everybody. Tarantulas are the softest things in the world. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I mean, they're soft at heart, maybe, but I think their little spikes are kind of hard. I don't really know. They grip on walls. Isn't that crazy? Where am I calling from? I am in Boston right now. I am on top of a little hill in Boston on the East Coast. It is already after 9 p.m., I believe, and that's late. That's pretty late, don't you think? Where are you guys calling from? Nope. As we get closer to summer, will humidity play a role in flattening the curve for the virus? That's a great question. So a lot of people have been, postulating that a change in the season will affect this pandemic. And some part of the reason for people thinking that is that other cold viruses seem to follow a seasonal pattern. Coronaviruses, which are the family of virus that this virus is from, seem to be seasonal. We're not exactly sure why those viruses are seasonal. With the flu, which is a different virus, it exhibits a seasonal pattern where it gets worse in the winter and then better in the summer. It seems like a big part of why that virus is seasonal is because of school. When kids go home for summer break, they stop spreading it at school so much. So that's probably why infections go down. With this virus, the novel coronavirus, we don't yet have enough data to know, so we really don't know. So my short answer is I don't know, and nobody does. But people are thinking that it's possible, due to different behavior that it might go down. But yeah, I don't really know. I don't know. But yeah. What else? What else? School kids are disease vectors. True. Okay, I feel sick. President Trump has been talking a lot about hydroxychloroquine. Should I take that? So hydroxychloroquine has been in the news a lot as something that can be, that supposedly has some kind of effect on this virus. All the evidence to date, like if you read the papers, there's not really good evidence that it makes any difference. Yeah, and so you, as a person at home, should definitely not take it for coronavirus. Because there's not really evidence that it helps. Yeah. And I was just reading that there's been some protests in different places across the country in Texas and Nevada and Indianapolis for people wanting to end the quarantine now because of the economic costs. And these are some good questions. And yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about those protests is that if you look to the first internet voices that were kind of calling for those protests, they all come from, if you dig and dig and dig, they all come from like the same account in Florida. So that's kind of interesting if you're a conspiracy theorist, but I won't go into that. Okay, so if you have had it and recover, are you immune? That is the $1 million question, isn't it? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. That's the short answer. It's like most likely, if you're making an educated guess, you're probably immune for at least a little while. Different viruses give you different immunities for differing periods of time. Smallpox virus. If you get it once or you get vaccinated, you're immune for life. Rhinovirus, one of the more common cold viruses, you get it and you're immune for a couple months. So The virus that's the most closely related to this virus would be the original SARS, OG SARS, from a few years back. That one, once you get it, you seem to be immune for a year or two. So, yeah, I don't know, though. We don't know. But hopefully, yes. At least for now. When do you think the quarantine should be over? Yeah. So, the whole point of the quarantine, the whole point of all of these public health measures are to minimize the number of deaths from coronavirus, the number of deaths, and the number of serious cases that cause lasting damage. So that's the point of those measures. So when we're talking about rolling them back, the reason we would want to roll them back is, of course, because people don't want to sit at home, and also because it's important for the economy for people to be able to go outside and buy stuff, spend money, and have jobs. So public health officials who are making the decisions about how long the quarantine should last are kind of walking this line. It's sort of a tug of war between keeping the economy open and keeping people alive. As to when they should start, pulling back those restrictions, it's gonna depend on their particular context, like their particular location. How early did they implement those quarantines? Like how much were they able to flatten the curve and slow transmission? If the timeline for California, who has sort of successfully flattened the curve a bit, is going to be different than from New York, where they had a giant peak. If we were to release everybody from quarantine right now, we would see a big what's called a second wave, where there's just a big, another big outbreak, a big peak. And that's because we haven't yet achieved anything close to herd immunity. And herd immunity is where enough people have immunity that if you were to introduce a case, that case the infection would kind of peter out, because not enough people would get infected for it to explode again. Because we're nowhere near that, we can't end it anytime soon. But yeah, it's going to depend on the context. Let me see. Meaning that herd immunity through let it spread is not on the table. Oh, yeah, so herd immunity, should we just let everybody out so that everybody can get it and, get this whole business over with? So right now, because we don't have good testing, we don't know for sure how many people have been exposed. There was recently a little study done in Santa Clara County, I believe, in California, which is a county in California that has had the highest rates of coronavirus in California, at least. And from that study, it looks like the highest estimate for the highest number, proportion of people in that county that have had coronavirus, the high estimate is 4%. In order to achieve herd immunity with this virus, we would need that number to be 50%. So in that county where a lot of people have died and it was really hard hit, and we don't really want that to happen all over the country, they're nowhere near herd immunity. So that gives you kind of an idea of what it would take to achieve herd immunity just the natural way. It would be pretty catastrophic, I think. Let's see. 6 feet is the social distancing suggestion. What would you do if you personally were running with someone? 6 feet doesn't work then. Yeah, so 6 feet was the early suggestion to kind of be practical. It seems like 6 feet is enough to significantly reduce the amount of cough droplet spray that gets in your mouth and face. But it's not perfect. Certainly droplets can, go farther than that. And when you're running with somebody, and a little example that I use for people is if you can smell somebody's farts, you're probably breathing in some of their breath. So of course we can't, if we're trying to hang out with somebody, then we're not gonna be perfectly protected from them no matter what we do, unless we put on a plastic bodysuit or wear an N95 mask, a face shield, etc. And even then it's still hard. But when it comes to going on a run, I would say if you're following behind them, they're breathing hard and putting out a lot of their breath with their virus if they have it, and you're behind them, so you're they're moving and their air is left behind them, so you're breathing it in right behind them. So you probably should give a little more space. I haven't been running with people, But if I did, I would suggest running a little farther than 6 feet apart. Yeah. Let's see. Do you think herd immunity is possible during quarantine? So I touched on this a little bit before. In order to achieve herd immunity with this virus, given its rate of transmissibility, you would need 50% of the population to be immune to it. So right now, we are nowhere near that number. Even in the places worst hit, I don't know what that number is in New York, but I know that in the worst county in California, which was pretty badly hit, the highest possible estimate was 4% of the population had been was immune, possibly immune, or had already been infected. So given how poorly it went for them, at only achieving 4% immunity, I would say that to achieve 50% herd immunity would take a while and be pretty catastrophic. Yeah. International trips during the pandemic, is it safe? So, when you're going on an international trip, you're going in an airplane, which is a contained environment shared with 100 other people, however many other people are on that airplane, and so that air is dry, meaning that any respiratory aerosol particles that are in the air will last for longer, because the more humid air is, the less long an aerosolized virus will stay suspended in air, because when air is humid, there's water in the air, so that particle is more likely to hit a water molecule, and then more water molecules hit together, and then when they get big enough, they're heavy and they fall to the ground. So the drier the air, the longer those aerosols stay suspended. Okay, so in an airplane, the air is dry, and you're sharing the air with 100 other people. That air is recirculated through HEPA filters, which takes out some viruses, which means that airplane air is better than some other small contained environments, but it's still nowhere near perfect. Your tray, I don't care how how many emails I'm getting from Delta Airlines, I still don't quite believe that they're really fully wiping down all those trays all the time, because I flew a month back when we were already starting to get nervous about this, and they did not seem clean to me. So all of that to say, flying, you have a higher risk of getting coronavirus, and if you have it and don't know it, you're at high risk of transmitting that to 100 other people. So it's not responsible. Is it safe? That's up to your own, weighing of costs and benefits. If you're, again, it's similar to, is it safe to go to the grocery store? No, nothing's safe, but everything is practically speaking, it's probably okay. But I don't advise international travel for a little while, unless absolutely necessary. Let's see. So what are the pluses and needs for change / improvement of the U.S. healthcare system you see as a response to this pandemic? So we're learning a lot of things from this pandemic. One of the things that's becoming clear is that having our healthcare systems, having the capacity of our healthcare systems, meaning the maximum amount of people they're able to take care of, making that match up to the sort of average number of people that are in a hospital at any given moment, that's not enough to keep people safe during an unexpected disaster like a pandemic. So in the United States, healthcare is a business. It's a big industry for profit, or anyway, there's a lot of money to be made in it. And in order to make the most money, if you're running a hospital, you want to have the sort of minimum number of beds to be able to take care of the people you usually see. Having extra beds that are empty loses money. So that we're definitely paying for that now that COVID's happening, because we need extra beds. So what we're learning is that we probably should have some extra empty beds. So having this all be for profit probably isn't the best thing, but we could get into that and talk for a long time. No. New normal is a popular term. Yeah, new normal. What's going to happen after all of this is over? When are we going to go back to normal? So it's probably going to be a very long time until we go back to completely normal. Maybe we never will go back completely to normal. But in the coming months, as we start to years, as we start to roll back these restrictions, like, it's not going to be normal for a long time. Like, you know, you might see people might be wearing masks for a long time. People might be keeping that 6-foot spacing for a long time. It might not be until we have a vaccine that we start to see the return of those sort of large unnecessary events like races. And when are we going to see a vaccine? I don't know. Probably the soonest is 2021. So it's a little while. It takes a while. Oops. Oh, what do I think about some months on for social distancing and some months off? Yeah, so I feel like I don't really know, but I feel like if you go all off and all on, that's a little silly, because once you go all off, you like have a, you know, sort of major number of cases, and that's a big spike, and then you go all, but yeah, so I feel like you want to do it more kind of gradually in a graded way. So for example, once we have the ability to test whether people have been exposed, and if we know, once we find out that once you've been exposed, you're immune, for example, at that point we might be able to say, let people who are immune out first. You know, that's a possibility. And probably the last people we would want to let out would be our at-risk populations, like our elderly. So one strategy that one could implement is to let out different people at differing times. But there's a lot of things to consider in doing this. Yeah, but I don't really know. Let me see. Can the coronavirus be transmitted via a dog? We are practicing social distancing, but our entire family, yeah. But dogs are hard to, you know, dogs don't quite understand why we distance like this. So as far as animals are concerned, it seems, so there was that one case of a dog that tested COVID positive in China. Other than that, we haven't really seen it. So it seems like our pets don't really get it. That said, if you have coronavirus or think you might have coronavirus, it's probably best to not, snuggle and lick and like make out with your dog, because remember that this virus came from an animal in the first place, most likely. So though it's unlikely that you'll give it to your dog, the more number of times different people who are sick with coronavirus make out and exchange saliva with their dogs, as I know you guys are all doing all the time, the more opportunities there are for this virus to mutate in such a way that it can infect the dog. So basically, if you have coronavirus, like, minimize your contact with everything. If you probably don't have coronavirus, you know, like, probably snuggle your dog because they like it and they'd be so sad if you didn't. Timeline for a vaccine to be developed and tested to the point that it could be used widely. So I don't know, but probably 2021 if I had to guess. I don't know. Is a vaccine realistically possible, seeing that the common cold and flu are not eradicated? Is it realistically possible? So the thing with the common cold, we haven't been working super hard on the common cold vaccine. Like, right now, everybody in the world is working on a coronavirus vaccine. And in general, when that happens, for bugs, with a few exceptions, which I'll talk about in a second, in general, when that happens, we are pretty successful at coming up with vaccines. And coronavirus doesn't seem to so the viruses that everybody's been working on, we haven't been able to develop a vaccine, are things like HIV. The thing with HIV is that it mutates. It mutates a lot. So as soon as you develop one thing to help your immune system kill it, like, it changes. So that no longer works. With coronavirus, it doesn't mutate nearly as fast as HIV. So it seems like we could develop something pretty well. The common cold, because it doesn't really kill people, we haven't really been focused on it. And actually, I was reading up on this, and a while back, a couple years back, like some people came kind of close, but then suddenly their company changed ownership, and so they stopped testing it. So there's been like some progress made that on a vaccine that seems to be successful in rats, but it just hasn't progressed. I'm talking about the common cold right now, not this coronavirus. Yeah, but I think it's very possible. Yes. Oops. It's pretty clear that there are still a whole lot of important unknowns, so given that, would it be best to err on the side of caution with public health regulations and lockdown rules? Yes. The responsible thing to do as a citizen is to err on the side of caution, certainly, because you have to remember it's not just you personally you're protecting, but you're doing this for other people. So we have to think about the other people, the people who are older or immunocompromised, the people who are more likely to, if they get this, get really sick, and the people who don't have the option of staying home, who have to work because because they're the mailman, or they're serving you food, or they're at the grocery store and they don't have enough, maybe they don't have enough money to like not do that, so they have to. So we're protecting those people when we're being cautious. Let's see. Will I be doing more Spartan races after this is over? Most likely, unless I start residency, which I might. What else? Oh, should we expect to go through this every year / how many years? Yeah. So if we don't develop a vaccine, if it takes us, let's just say that we don't develop a vaccine in the next 5 years. This would last this is pretty much gonna last in some shape or form, some kind of extreme way like it is now, until we develop a vaccine, I would say. Because in order to achieve herd immunity, you need 50% of the population to get it, and that's a lot of people, and that's gonna take a while, or, kill a whole lot of people in the process. How come we can't stop social distancing? What can I do to boost my immune system? So basically the most important things are, getting enough sleep, staying hydrated, eating a balanced meal. Your immune system is energetically very costly, and it's one of the first things to go when you're in an energy deficit. That means that if you're not getting enough sleep, or you're overtraining, or you're not eating enough energy, not eating enough nutrients, your immune system is going to be the first thing to shut down. So you want to be treating yourself nicely, and treating yourself nicely, basically. As for particular supplements, make sure you're getting enough vitamin C. You can read about all those things online. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Alex. Okay, how to stay sane and healthy under lockdown. What are some of your favorite self-care practices? Dudes, meditation, I'm telling you. I started meditating 35 days ago now. I'm on day 35 of meditating every morning for 10 minutes, and it has been freaking life-changing. It is amazing what a little bit of paying attention to your experience in your head, paying attention to that, that's freaking life-changing. So I would say I would highly recommend meditation. If you want a meditation app, I would recommend Waking Up by Sam Harris. Another thing I've been doing is, continuing to work out. But I've also been, I've been working out a little more for fun as opposed to doing what I have to do. So if I'm looking at my workout schedule, because I have a coach, if I'm looking at my workout schedule and there's something where I'm like, I don't want to do that, I've been a little bit easier on myself and been like, okay, what could I do that would approximate that I would enjoy more? And that's been important for my happiness these days. Another thing, when you're working from home, it can be tempting to kind of not, to stay in your pajamas and maybe stay in bed extra long. And while that's okay, in general, it's good for your mood if you get up out of bed in the morning, brush your teeth, do all your normal stuff, stick to a routine, because your body doesn't really know what's going on. Your body's just along for the ride and it's doing what it's used to. So even if you know that you're supposed to work, if your body's still in sleep mode, it's not going to want to work. So to kind of best be able to be productive and happy, you should stick to a routine. Let's see. Oh yeah, here's Peter Dobos saying that training like a fiend because you suddenly have the time is a bad idea due to the immune system being compromised. Tour de France riders are always getting sick because of that. And that's true. Like if you suddenly started like way overtraining, yeah, you're gonna suppress your immune system. That said, light activity does help your immune system because your lymph system, your lymphatics, they're not pumped, so your like blood vessels are pumped by your heart, you know, like your heart keeps all that blood circulating, but your lymph system is just kind of like sitting there. So if you're just sitting there, it's just sitting there. But when you move your muscles around, your muscles squeeze that fluid around, so like a little bit of movement is good, definitely. Yes, meditation, guys, meditation is huge. Okay. How come we can't stop social distancing so I can go to Applebee's again? That's a good question, Brady. Because we're not ready. Not if we were to stop social distancing now, we would see a big rise in cases, and we might become like New York. So we're just not ready. Pet question again. If I snuggle and kiss the dog a bunch and I have coronavirus, can another family member get it by snuggling and kissing the same dog? What kind of dog is it? That's the first question. Just kidding. So if you snuggle and kiss, like if you're like, you know, kissing it and your spit is right there, and then your family member comes and like kisses that same spit, then yeah, it's like, you know, it's like you touched a table and then they touched the table. Like whatever virus you left on the table is going to still be there. How does a dog compare to how does a dog compare to an inanimate object when it comes to passing the virus? Like, I think its coat, its hair is essentially like, you know, a wig or something, in that you might leave a big gob of snot and then that could transmit the virus. In the dog's mouth, if it's like swallowed enough or like drooled enough, then probably it's okay, because the virus isn't going to like stay there for very long. But yeah, I would basically treat the dog as if it were like a table or something. You know, that's terrible because the dog is not a table. The dog is a sentient being. 2 beagles. Oh, is it a good dog? Is it a good beagle? Beagles are good dogs. Dude, a beagle once sniffed out my mandarin orange when I was traveling from Thailand, and so it caused my entire luggage to get searched because I had one piece of food. Those beagles, they'll get you. They'll get you, man. They're talented little guys. They're serious too. They're serious little guys. Let's see, what else? What else? Have you been able to find ways to stay fit through this quarantine? If so, what are your tips with that? Yeah, so I have continued to, all of my cardio has essentially remained the same. I still go on runs. I'm blessed enough to have an elliptical bicycle, so instead of having to cross-train in a gym, I can cross-train outside. I would say, yeah, my outside working out hasn't really changed at all. The stuff that I used to do in a gym, now I try to approximate in my own home, which is a bit different because I don't have a full like set of Olympic weights. So I've, you know, been making do with lighter weights and a pull-up bar. So it's not perfect, but it is something. It's cool now that we have more flexible schedules. We can, you know, work out during the daylight. I guess days are long enough that you might have been able to do that anyway during this, with work happening. But yeah, it's been okay actually. And I think I've seen a lot more people outside running during this, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because it's great that people are out and exercising. It's bad because, well, there's a virus going around. Let's see, what else is there? Is it okay to exercise without a mask on? The best thing to do is to exercise with a mask on, because those masks can help reduce the number of like big droplets that you're exhaling. That said, they're like, the amount of difference that they really make, just like a regular surgical or cloth mask, is not that much. So if you're like really first let me say that if you're in a place that requires masks when you're outside, like, you have to wear it. You know, there's no question. But if you're in a place that doesn't require it, that just recommends it, like if you're doing a super hard workout and you're gonna like suffocate, then, you know, just like have your mask around your neck, and if you're gonna suffocate, take it off so you don't die. That's kind of a joke. But yeah, I guess people will definitely give you dirty looks if you don't wear a mask, if you're in a place where a lot of people do, but it's not the end of the world if you don't, I would say. What's the science on washing our groceries? It's the same science as washing any other objects, I guess. Like, yeah, like the virus seems to be able to survive on surfaces for, depending on the type of surface, it can survive for differing amounts of times, anywhere from a few hours to a few days. So it's possible that that apple that you didn't wash because you didn't wash an apple, even though you're supposed to always wash apples, right? Yeah, it could have the virus on it if somebody else who touched it had virus on their hands. So it's recommended that you wash your groceries, I would say. Are the symptoms of COVID-19 different in children than in adults? So interestingly, it seems like kids don't get nearly as sick. Like they're not, it seems to be, like kids don't get it as badly as adults do. But the symptoms that they do get look like they're pretty similar. Put all groceries in dishwasher. Yeah, put all your groceries, put all your paper bags in the dishwasher. I think that would work. Where did the coronavirus even come from? Yeah, so the coronavirus, it seems like the coronavirus came from a live animal market. And the way, how do they know this? It's because when they trace back like the original cluster of infections in Wuhan, China, it seemed like all of those people had been to this one market that had live animals. And like it's a lot of close contact with animals increases the risk that a virus in a particular animal will jump to a human. So yeah, that kind of, and also in a live animal market, you might be like slaughtering animals, and so maybe you're having like extra contact with them. So that kind of makes it more likely to happen. In this case, it seems like it might, we don't know what animal it came from, but it might be from a pangolin, because they're able to infect a pangolin with the coronavirus. And if you're wondering what a pangolin is, this is a I don't know what this is made out of, some kind of black rock. This is kind of like a pangolin. It's like a fancy armadillo that isn't roadkill in Texas. But yeah, but before it got to the pangolin, it probably came from bats, because the coronavirus family is like a big bat virus family. Like they love bats mostly. And so most of the coronaviruses that infect humans came from bats. So this one probably did too. It was probably the bat was, you know, meeting up with its lover, the pangolin, and then the pangolin went to the wet market and met with its lover, and then got humans. Let's see. A pine cone with legs and a snout. Sorta. Should I not hug and kiss my bats when I put them to bed? This is really, like, when it comes to hugging and kissing your pet bats, it's like, you know, you gotta weigh the costs and benefits, because I know that there's great costs, because you will be really sad if you don't kiss your bats, and your bats will be really sad, but the benefits might outweigh them in this case, because, yeah. I always make out with my pangolins. Yeah, dude, I don't know. This is kind of a lesson, you know, like we might have to learn from this lesson to not kiss our pangos. It's sad. It's really sad, but we have to make sacrifices. We all have to make sacrifices when it comes to something like this. We got to protect each other, you know? And the emotional health of our pangolins might actually benefit from not making out with them. So, got to think about that too. What else? There's some things here. Let's see. Doesn't it make sense that most mild and asymptomatic cases have not been confirmed, since they most likely wouldn't get tested? This could make all the data seem much worse than it really is. If you go and look at the data, you see the number of confirmed positive cases in the world, or in the United States, or in whatever state it is. You see the number of deaths, and maybe you see the number of hospitalizations. When it comes to the number of cases that have been confirmed, you're only seeing the number of people that have been tested and confirmed to have the virus. So yes, it is true that if you do not show symptoms, you are less likely to get tested, meaning that the number of positive cases that we're seeing in those numbers are probably way less than the number of actual positive cases out there in the population. So that is true. I feel weird about washing my fruits and veggies with soap, and I definitely don't want to wash them with warm water. Is rinsing them in cold water okay? It's better than nothing. Rinsing them in warm water is probably better than cold water because this virus has a little lipid layer around it. These viruses are like a little teeny dot and has a little layer of fat around it. So if you've ever washed your dishes that have oil on them, you may have noticed that using soap, is good at getting rid of that oil. You may also have noticed that using warm water tends to move it off better than using cold water, because as soon as you use cold water, it kind of sticks. It's the same with the virus. So warm water better than cold water, soap better than warm water, but cold water definitely better than nothing because it's still, it's like something hitting it and moving stuff off of it. So it's good. Let's see. Some of the tests have significant false positives. True, false, to know. False positives. So with these tests, I do know that one of the more widely used tests has a 75% sensitivity, which means that if you test people that definitely have the virus, if you test a bunch of people that have the virus, it'll only pick up 75% of those, meaning that you have quite a few false negatives. That means that you're not catching all the virus that's out there. Like, you're going to tell some people that actually have the virus that they don't have it. As for, are you going to tell anybody who doesn't have the virus that they do have the virus because the test was wrong? I don't really know. I don't know if we have data on that. Do you know? False negatives? False positives. False positives.
There's not a lot of false positives.
Not a lot of false positives, it seems, says the little doctor on my shoulder. Okay. I rinse my fresh vegetables and fruits in vinegar and baking soda. Cool. I think, yeah, I don't really know. That's cool. I'm not sure vinegar works as well as like a detergent, which would be like a type of soap, but yeah. Cilantro. No, dude, cilantro's really good. Cilantro will wilt in my warm water. Yes, yeah. With your cilantro, it's not worth it. Just wash it in cold water. Don't wilt your cilantro. It's not worth it. You need that fresh cilantro. It's okay, Hello from Mexico. Hi. What makes someone a carrier? Is it just being asymptomatic? So basically, yeah, you're said to be a carrier when you are able to spread the virus, but you don't get sick. So you're just like one of those awesome dickheads that... I'm just kidding. Yeah, so basically it's being asymptomatic, but being able to spread the virus. And that does happen. Definitely happens. Real bat question. I feel like a lot of diseases are transmitted. That's a good question. So when we're talking about the diseases that are transmitted, we're talking about the ones that transmit to humans because we're focused on ourselves. Bats are other mammals and they fly around. I don't know. It is true that it seems like one family of bat viruses, the coronaviruses, also tend to adapt pretty well to humans. So, yeah, I don't really know. It's interesting though, huh? But being a mammal might be part of it. See. Why is everyone acting like it's all over and out now? It's all over and out and about now. Oh, well, so, because we reacted kind of late in the United States, we didn't act quickly enough where we were able to sort of contain the virus. In countries like Germany and South Korea, they acted quickly enough that they had enough supplies that when they were able to catch it at a time when there were few enough people with the virus that they were able to find all the people that were positive, test everybody, find the people that were positive, go back and track all the people that they had been in contact with, and isolate all of those people. And because they were able to do that at that point, they were able to contain the spread. So it stopped spreading. In the United States, we by the time we started acting and had enough equipment to test people, etc., there were way too many people with it. So containing the spread was no longer practical. That said, what became the priority at that point was to make sure that our healthcare system was able to take care of the people who did get sick in an optimal way, so that we didn't have unnecessary deaths from the infection because somebody didn't have a ventilator, for example. And that's why we did all the social distancing and quarantining stuff. The two beagles. Yeah, dude, beagles don't conform to social distancing, those little guys. Pangos. Okay. Taiwan banned all travel to and from China December 31st. 24 million people, 400 cases, 6 deaths. Yeah. So, yeah, those guys were lucky. I would say when it comes to like minimizing deaths from a pandemic like COVID, you can like think of it as a tier system. In tier 0, you catch it early enough that nobody in your country has it and you're able to close your borders and none of the virus gets in. You're, perfect. Tier 1 is where, a few people have it in your country, but it's few enough that you're able to find all those people and find all the people they've been in touch with and keep them all quarantined and stop the spread. Tier 2 is what the US is in, where your aim is then to just flatten the curve because you don't have enough, you have too many people with it to be able to contact trace and contain. And then tier 3 is when shit's hit the fan and you're New York or Italy and your healthcare system is overridden. Is it true that children are not likely to be infected? So children, it seems like children do not get it as severely as adults. We're not exactly sure why, but it seems like they don't seem to die nearly as much from it. They don't seem to get seriously ill nearly as much from it. Seems like the older you are, the more likely you are to get seriously ill. But kids can still get it. Kids can still get it. South Korea was tier 1. Yes, South Korea was tier 1. So was Germany. Yeah, they did a really good job. What does my cup say on it? This cup says, "Live to ride, ride to live." It says captain, some other dictator, and high priest. I think this is from New Orleans. It's from Mardi Gras. That's right. That thing with the plastic beads and a little baby and a cake. Any truth to zinc and quinine being helpful? Zinc and quinine? You know?
Quinine and hydroxychloroquine are in the same family, so no.
Okay, so quinine is similar to hydroxychloroquine, which is the thing that's been talked about a lot in the news. And with hydroxychloroquine, there doesn't seem to be any good evidence that it does anything with COVID. Zinc, I don't think so. Do you know?
No data.
No data. Yeah, we don't know. Let's see. What else? What's the one piece of coronavirus information you have as a medical professional you wish that everyone knew? It's that when you're in the ICU looking at the people on the ventilators, there are plenty of young, otherwise healthy people that are seriously sick with this and that are dying. Like, it's not just old people. So when I'm thinking about, people in parts of the nation where it hasn't really hit much, I wish that they did know that, you're not, just because you're young doesn't mean you're totally safe. Now the U.S. has beaches full protest. Are we doomed? Oh, are we doomed because of those protests? So, there are parts of the United States that are protesting, that are calling for an end to the restrictions, the public health initiatives, so that the economy can start up again. And I would say that we're not ready to, stop those restrictions. Some parts of the U.S. in a month might be ready to start to wheel back some. But, protests in general or big demonstrations are essentially large public gatherings, so they're probably not a good idea right now. Are we doomed because of them? They're not optimal, but I don't know. I don't think we're doomed. Do they know why people lose their taste and smell sometimes with COVID? That's a good question. I don't know. It's like maybe like the nerves in your nose, because the COVID, likes your throat, your nasopharynx. So maybe it damages those cells. I don't really know, but that's a good question. I read that being on a ventilator is the worst possible feeling you will ever experience. Is that true? Is it like being awake with a thing blocking your throat? So I've never been on a ventilator. Let me start by saying I've never been on a ventilator, so I don't know. But hopefully, when you're on a ventilator, you're usually knocked out. Like, you are unconscious, so you don't remember that time. But in the rare case where there's not enough sedation and you're getting better and you wake up and you remember it afterwards, yeah, it wouldn't be pleasant, because you do have a tube down your throat, and that, I wouldn't want to stick a tube down my throat right now while I'm awake. So yeah, but it would suck if you were awake and intubated, but you're not awake, so it should be okay. And probably after you get extubated, when they take the tube out, your throat's probably gonna be a little irritated because there was something in there. Oh, so have you heard anything about... Okay, so a lot of people are asking about or trying to beef up their immune system. Have you heard anything about out-of-control immune responses killing a significant number of COVID victims? So what kills you, what causes, when you get infected by some kind of bug, so you get sick, say you get sick, what makes you sick? Is it the bug itself damaging your cells? Is it your body's response to the bug to try and fight off the bug? It is both of those things. So a lot of the people who are getting seriously ill with COVID, it seems like they're having a really strong immune reaction to it, and that's why they're getting so sick. But I wouldn't necessarily worry about that if you're just kind of doing things to beef up your immune system in general, because the main thing that you're going to do is to help yourself fight off the bug if you don't have it already. But yeah, it's true that if you use very specific fancy measures once you are already sick with the virus to beef up your immune system, yeah, maybe you'll have a bigger response and get sicker. I don't really know. You have anything to add to that?
No, but there's clinical trials to try to dampen down the immune system. We're still going on.
So there are clinical trials to using different drugs that dampen your immune response that are ongoing to see if that can help, because it is it does seem to be the case that our immune systems, our own immune responses to COVID, play a large role in why people, when people die, etc. Yes. Okay. The bitches. Hey guys. Been talking. I feel like I ate a frog or something. I ate a frog, and then I heated up my oven for a while, and I opened it up, and I put my mouth in it for a while so it dried out. And so now I have a dry frog in my throat. You know what that's like? But it's not because I have the COVID. I mean, it might be. I don't know, but I don't think so. What's the coolest thing I've learned about COVID recently? Now that you're done with Harvard, is your nickname still Hammer? Dude, I'm not the one who decides on my nicknames. Frog jerky. Yeah, I've never tried frog jerky. What's the weirdest meat I've ever tried? I don't really know. I've had alligator, but it tastes pretty normal. I've had whale. That's not a popular one with people because people like whales. Don't eat frogs, they might give you COVID. There's no evidence showing that frogs can give you COVID yet. How long would antibodies last in your system after having COVID? That is a great question, and we don't know yet. The best we can do is compare it to other similar viruses, and one similar virus is the OG SARS virus, which was SARS-CoV-1, a related virus. And for those people, it seems like their immunity lasts for a year or two. But we don't know with this one yet. We don't know. What are some of the most common underlying health conditions that put you in the at-risk group? So age. That is a health condition, right? The older you are, the more likely you are to get seriously infected for some reason. This is a respiratory disease, so any underlying respiratory conditions put you at higher risk for being really sick. Diabetes suppresses your immune system in general, and those people don't do as well. Heart problems, people with heart conditions don't do well. Is it okay to say China virus? I mean, no, not really. Well, the main reason it's not okay to say China virus is because, like, that's not at all a helpful label. Like, why would you say that? When we say something like China virus, we are like propagating we are spreading an association between people from China and this virus, which in general is not helpful. It's not helpful when you make associations like that with groups of people and negatively valenced topics, because then, I don't know, you kind of affect your unconscious biases in not a helpful way. What if you're a healthy senior? Yeah, you do the best you can, but yeah, you're hopefully going to be okay, but you're still at risk because you're older. Why are the coronavirus tests, why do they take so long? Why are they so damn expensive? So the current tests that we use for coronavirus use a technique called polymerase chain reaction, PCR. And that's where it's amazing when you and you manage to make a little other piece of RNA that sticks onto it, and then you take this, like, the equipment from a certain kind of bacteria that will then use that little piece that you stuck to the other piece and make a bunch of copies of that original piece. And so only if you have a piece that matches the little piece that you added to it do you get a bunch of copies of it. And so that means that you can test to see whether a given sample has a particular DNA or RNA sequence. And so what they do is they take the little piece that they synthesize a little piece of known sequence from the virus, and then they add it to the sample, like the little spit nose swab that they have, and they add all the equipment necessary and see if they can amplify a bunch of DNA, RNA, genetic material. If they can, then it's positive. If they can't, then it's negative. So yeah, that takes that's like a whole process, so it takes a little while. It should be faster. Part of the reason why it's so slow is because we weren't very well prepared for this, so we don't have the people and equipment all set up to do it. Oh yeah, how effective is my dinky little bandana mask? Are cotton face masks helpful? So the more kind of airtight is around your face, the better, because if it's loose around the sides and air's just going to get out the sides, they are not very effective, but they are better than nothing at catching, because they will cover any coughs you have. They will slightly reduce the number of droplets probably that you're releasing in the air. They're by no means perfect, but they're the best we can do right now. So yeah, I read a paper about homemade masks, the effectiveness of homemade masks in spreading things like the flu, and it was found in that paper that with the masks that they were testing, the homemade masks that they were testing, they were not as effective as surgical masks, but they were far better than nothing. In this paper that I read, those homemade masks were those fancy sewn ones that you need a sewing machine to make. I haven't seen one testing just these little jimmy rigged homemade ones with a rubber band and a piece of cloth, but I imagine it's not as good as a surgical mask, but still better than nothing. My thoughts on beta glucan and AHCC to boost my immune system. Yeah, I don't know. What can I do to help support healthcare workers, male people, and other essential workers that aren't being asked to stay at home? Basically, to do your best to slow the spread of this thing. So to stay at home as much as possible, to minimize your contact with other people, to don't don't kiss pangolins, to don't hug bats. No. You can hug bats. No, you don't hug bats. To wash your hands frequently, and basically listen to your public health officials, because they're the sort of best informed people. Isn't touching your face bad? So the reason touching your face is bad is because when you touch your face, you get things from your face onto your hands, and the virus is in things in your face, like your eyeballs, your nose, your mouth. And so when you get that onto your hand, you can then like put it on an object, and then somebody else touch the object. And your hands are like dirty things. You like touch a bunch of weird, gross things with your hands. And so then when you touch your face, which has the things where the virus likes, then the virus gets from your hands onto your face. So yeah, generally when you're like out and about, avoid touching your face. And that's why you should wash your hands often, so that in the case that you do touch your face, which is going to happen inevitably because we all love to touch our faces, you're less likely to get virus onto your face. Yeah. Yeah. Yay! All right, everybody. This is fun. Anybody have any more pangolin questions? You know, I don't actually know what a pangolin looks like in real life. I haven't actually ever seen a photo. I just have this stone creature that I got in Zimbabwe. And when I went to the market, there were a bunch of these little guys that were all very similar, but they're all slightly different. And so I had to pick the one that I liked the most. And I chose this one. He has a slight curve. I don't know if you can tell, but it goes slightly that way. And he's like kind of crooked, but I chose him because I liked him. I haven't kissed him except for that one time I did on camera, but I had to do that. That was necessary. Why do we love to touch our faces so much? Yeah, there's a lot of little nerves on our faces. We love to like scratch them, we love to pick at stuff. I think, you know, because like if you like watch monkeys, they like to like pick nits from each other. Probably because nits in general will like suck your blood. Well, I guess nits are good to eat. Like, you know, picking little fleas. Fleas are great to eat, so it's good to have a, you know, instinct to pick stuff. And also fleas suck your blood, so it's good to have fewer fleas on you. So we probably have a little urge to pick stuff because of that. Also, if you have like some kind of parasite where it's like a worm that grows in you and then comes out, you want to like pick it so you can pull the worm out. Hopefully you don't get that. I don't get that. Is it black onyx? Dude, it might be. It might be. I don't know. It's heavy. Seems kind of stone. Home cleaning, showering, all that type of stuff. Oh, so this might be a question about what to do when you come back from the inside world. Yeah, one of the first things you should do is like wash your hands. If you are a healthcare worker, you should like, you know, strip your clothes and like wash the clothes and like take a shower, wash yourself. Soap and water are one of the best things to get this virus off of you. Yeah, and to like kind of like if you have a bag that you set down on the ground outside, you have to like think about that when you're setting it down in your house. But you know, at a certain point, you got to live your life. So yeah, does eating bugs increase? That's a really great question, James. I don't know. I don't know if eating bugs increases your chance of you getting coronavirus. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming. All right, guys, this has been fun. Thank you for joining, and I hope you guys had a fun time. I had a fun time, mostly because, well, I won't say why, but I did have a good time. Yeah, let's do this more often, guys. You know, another good thing about this whole thing is that we've been like talking to our friends way more often than usual. Like you can just randomly call people. You didn't, and like before it used to be kind of embarrassing to call people, but now it's like, hey, so-and-so who I never talked to or thought about talking to before, like now I'm going to talk to you. And hey, it turns out it's fun. You know, it's nice to see faces and to talk. Oh, I only have 27 seconds remaining, guys. We're going to time out. You guys, this is scary. It's 22 seconds remaining. What's going to happen when it counts down? It's all going to end. Maybe I'll never come back again. Dude, 6-foot hug. I know, seriously. You guys got to make do. It really, not being able to hang out with people, like seeing them on camera is not the same as being in physical contact. I think this has made us appreciate that a lot more. And with that said,